Jeffrey Epstein's good buddy old pal Bill Gates, who they hung out on quite a lot of occasions, more than just a few dinner parties like Bill Gates lied about on multiple occasions. Well, Bill's up to quite a lot in recent times. I mean, there's just no quit in this guy. What he's up to is literally setting up the mark of the beast system before our very eyes. I mean, it's as clear as day that this is the direction that this is going. I mean, it's crazy and people don't see it. A lot of people don't. But I mean, we're seeing the direction of this. That's exactly what's happening. So we're going to take a look into all of the things, many of some of these revelations that have come from the Epstein emails, other just quotes from Bill Gates over the past few years and even recently, talking about how we need to control how people are watched through their medical records, of course. Not only that, how he just went and saw in another country how they're watching and monitoring all the farmlands, like with maps and digital databases. And he said it was just so amazing, just giddy about just watching literally the mark of the beast system be set up before our very eyes. So there are people literally laying the groundwork for these prophecies to come into their fulfillment. And 100% Bill Gates is doing that. And so we're going to watch some of these videos here. So we'll get into all of this. And we'll start off just here with just a little bit of an overview on some of the digital ID stuff, because that's going to be a lot of what this live stream is about. Because as everything else is moving forward, as the alien deception is going full force upon the earth, and as we're getting more revelations about, the Epstein files, they're still moving forward with this digital ID around the world, and this has to be countered. It's not good. So here's just a little overview of that.
Digital ID on these people. And once they do digital ID, they're going to attach it to a social credit score. Yeah. They're going to attach it to a carbon footprint score. And then they'll be able to control your movement and control you entirely. And most importantly, they've already arrested 12,000 people for social media posts.
That's insane.
Above and beyond every other country, way above Russia. Russia was like 400 last year. The UK is 12,000. Any criticism of immigration, any criticism of grooming gang.
Obviously, that's the direction that this is going to go. In the UK, they come out and they say, well, we need this new digital ID because it's going to, we have so many migrants here that we just let right in, and they're not working, they're not paying taxes and stuff. So we need the digital ID. Guess what? The amount of money that they have spent trying to implement the digital ID is like 5x the amount of money that they have put in to trying to stop the illegal immigration in the UK. So they don't care about the illegal immigration. This is a destabilization plan that they have put in place to implement these other actions, such as the digital ID. Obviously, when you know that's the case, these people are connected, they're emailing each other, they're flying to islands, they're eating beef jerky that's being kept in the freezer downstairs, and they're also planning how to destabilize nations to implement such actions like the digital ID. Sounds crazy, but every other conspiracy's come true, and it fits in with Bible prophecy. We know that this is the direction things are going to go. What's up, guys, in the chat? God bless you. So here's a little bit, just a little clip of Bill Gates just talking about his direction or his beliefs and just how happy he is when he thought that they were going to finally get their controls mechanisms put into place back in 2020.
But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. People don't feel like going to the stadium when they might get infected. It's not the government who's saying, okay, just ignore this disease. And, people are deeply affected by seeing these deaths, by knowing they could be part of the transmission chain. And
yeah, so there he goes into all his nonsense. But let's listen to that beginning part one more time.
But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. People don't feel like going.
You don't have a choice. People act like they have a choice. That's the mindset of these people. Contact tracing, forced injections, forced mapping of what you're doing, forced wearing a mask, all of that stuff forced. You don't have a choice. Pretty obvious that that's the direction that exactly what the Antichrist is going to say. You can't buy or sell unless you have the mark of the beast. You don't have a choice is what he's going to say too. Just like Mr. Bill Gates is saying here. Same exact thing. And let's listen to what Bill has to say at the end here.
Returns over the next few months. But for the world at large, normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. And so, but you.
So that's so funny for some reason. He always laughs about that stuff. All of this is connected. again, as we're seeing everything else unfold right now, how it is unfolding, the digital ID is being pushed forward, and all these different nations, multiple nations at the exact same time come out and are pushing for the digital ID. No coincidence that this is all happening at the same time, that all of the other Bible prophecies are starting to move into place. The groundwork for these things to be fulfilled is being laid by people like Bill Gates and by other deceptions such as the alien stuff and the 2 billion people on the earth who want Christians dead, Muslims. We're seeing the groundwork being laid for this stuff to unfold. Here we see the UK. This is from 4 days ago. The UK has announced plans to fast-track legislation requiring age verification for VPN use. The correct term, however, is not age verification, but identity verification. A law like this would require everyone to identify themselves in order to use a VPN. This would pose a risk to whistleblowers, violate human rights, and represent yet another step forward in authoritarian society. This is something that we notice. They do this all the time. They did it back in the whole 2020 stuff, where they make it seem like it's for a great cause. And if no one would ever stand up against it, who would ever openly, publicly say that we would want kids to come across content online that would harm them? Of course, that's not the case. So they use stuff like that to implement their other things. Just like, oh, what, you don't want to wear a mask? What, you care if you want to kill all the grandmas out there? Same exact thing. They set up these scenarios to where you can't counter them. Well, you still can, but they try to make it to where you can't. So really, they say like, oh, you need it. We need it for the kids. We need it for the kids. And that same thing in Australia now. They just passed that. And then, but what's really going on behind the scenes is that now you can't even use a VPN and be anonymous online without verifying who you are. It's not an age thing. It's an identity verification. Just like this, what we see in China, we can see this stuff in real time around the world. If you look at these different things, this person here in China, biking without a helmet or motorcycling without a helmet or whatever, and then they get arrested, or they don't get arrested, they get dinged with their, social credit thing. We see how it moves in this exact same way. Just like people here in America standing saying, we want all these people from the Middle East to come here. It's so amazing. Really so amazing? Go look at what's happening in Europe right now. You can see it in real time. This is a planned destruction of the world systems to come in with their control mechanisms, which either will be or will for sure lead to the mark of the beast system.
Every country struggling to find that boundary. The U.S. is a tough one because, we have the notion of the First Amendment. And so what are the exceptions, like yelling fire in a theater, and because you're anonymous online, it can be worse. I do think over time, with things like deep fakes, most of the time you're online, you're going to want to be in an environment where the people are truly identified. That is, they're connected to a real world identity that you.
Same thing. We're seeing the same thing here again, right? The deep fakes are so scary and we can't have this and that, and obviously they use things that have real threats associated with them or real bad things associated with them. But then they say, because of that, now we have to implement where we have to have your ID for you to even go online. People are going to want to just know everyone who they're talking to online. You can't just talk anonymously online. And that's what a VPN does, where it allows you to do that. It allows you to view different stuff that certain nations have banned stuff. Like in the UK, they've banned certain apps and things like that. Just like we just heard, 12,000 people arrested for even speaking their mind on the immigration stuff in the UK. So that's what they're trying to prevent here. They're trying to stop being anonymous online because just like we saw again in 2020 and all these other things, and even now, these people are constantly called out online in large mass numbers. One of the reasons they took away the dislike button on YouTube, because you'd see him post a video like this and it would be like 90% dislikes. They don't like to be shown that they are countered by the mass population. So we need to continue to do that, because guess what? There is success stories sometimes when that happens. Amid Epstein fallout, Bill Gates becomes a point of controversy at an India AI summit, where he has now backed out of this summit because of what's going on with him and the Epstein files stuff. I heard in another story, not sure if it's totally true, that he lost or something he was signed up with or about to do, lost $100 billion or something like that in funding because of his connection in the Epstein emails. So we do see stuff happen. There's something good that can come from standing up for the truth and justice in these situations. And so, yeah, we should continue to call these people out when they do these wrong things, 100%. And I 100% agree. Look at Europe and what's happening right now. If we do not push back, if we do not protect our borders, if we do not stop the flood of people into our nation who literally believe religiously, according to their cult, that we should be dead and that they should take over, then yeah, we should 100% be on alert on that. That could also be part of the beast system, 100%, right? What's one of the things that you have to do to the image of the beast? Bow and worship it. What do? They already bow to the beast and worship it already. They bow to the Antichrist cube every single day. So we're seeing that stuff. We're seeing all these things move into place. And so, yeah, we should actually stand up and, stand up against this stuff. I fully believe that. Because guess what? We do see success stories from time to time. Look at Poland. They did not back down and succumb to this insanity that has happened in other parts of Europe. And look at them. They've had no terrorist attacks. Their crime rate is super low. They're not having any problems. Why is that? Because they're not allowing people into their nation who religiously believe that they should be dead. Pretty obvious. So this is one of the big things that came out in the Epstein files. In case you didn't hear, preparing for the pandemic. This is Bill Gates talking with Epstein about this stuff. And he says, please find attached a draft agenda for the meeting on preparing for pandemics as requested. Let's discuss next steps. For example, how to officially involve the WHO, the ICRC. Best regards, and I hope that we can pull this off. This says to Jeffrey Epstein here, I guess we don't really have anything within this email exactly saying Bill Gates per se. Wouldn't be surprised. They've been covering for these people all throughout this. How about this, though? Bill Gates, again, he said in multiple interviews, he only had a few dinners. I had one dinner with Epstein. Yeah, do I regret that dinner? Yeah, I regret that I had one dinner. That's all we had. Really? Well, let's take a look to this. Jeffrey Epstein talking to someone called Jess Staley. I have Gates alone for 2 days. Any input? More than a dinner. Way more than a dinner from what we've found out, which is why literally he's being kicked out of an AI summit in India. How about this? In case you guys didn't read this. Haven't seen this. Here's, let's see. It says also, sorry, let me try to move this over. Cool, I'm excited. Also, I've been thinking a lot about that question that you asked Bill Gates. How do we get rid of poor people as a whole? I have the answer. I have an answer. Comment regarding that for you. When can I call you today to discuss this? So the question that you asked Bill Gates, how do we get rid of poor people as a whole? Sounds again like a little bit more than Mr. Bill Gates over here was up to just a couple dinners with Epstein. They're literally talking about how to get rid of poor people and what's happening at the same exact time. This guy, Bill Gates, is in all of the poor nations, Africa and India, injecting them with things, putting injections in their mouth, injections in their arms, medicine, by a guy who's being asked a question, how do we get rid of poor people as a whole? He was giving contraceptives to the women, the young women in Kenya that was lasting up to 7 years. I believe he was kicked out of India or either Kenya. He lost his immunity rights with the government there. I mean, this dude is seriously wicked, the stuff that he's doing. And I don't say that as a coy, just like just some sort of statement or something. He is setting up the beast system with what he's implementing with this digital ID. That's 100% the direction this is going. We will not just wake up one day. I mean, I guess it could happen that way, but it probably not, because it doesn't normally. We won't just wake up one day and the Antichrist will be on the TV and says, go get the mark of the beast. It will be a slow, like the frog in the pot being boiled type of thing. First, it's the online ID, the digital ID. Then you have to get the medical ID. Then you have to get all these other ones. More and more and more and more until finally they just say, okay, you have to get this. You have to worship the beast and you have to follow after him, or you can't buy or sell You already have the digital ID. Just transfer over to this new 666 ID, and then you'll be fine. That's what they're doing. That's what is being set up here.
And the lack of an ID system is a problem, not just for the payment system, but also for voting and health and education and taxation. And so it's a wonderful thing to go in and create a broad identification system. And the lack of an ID system is a problem.
So he's been saying this stuff for years. That wasn't just taken yesterday. Talking about we need for all these different reasons: health, voting, education, taxation. It's the same stuff. And we see how the problems are created, and then they come in with the solutions, right? We see that all the time. And even now, it's like crazy with what we're seeing in America and in the UK and all around the world. I mean, they've allowed this problem of the immigration thing to come in so bad that, years and years ago, like in 2012 and stuff, the big thing that a lot of like conspiracy channels and stuff were talking about and warning about was the police state's coming. They're going to set up a new police state, martial law. That was the big thing. Now things are so bad with what they've allowed to happen with the immigration crisis that those same types of people, I got to be honest, myself included, is like, well, what's the other option besides allowing, and I don't want a police state or martial law, but it's like you have to have federal forces come in to do something about this. Otherwise, I mean, if you import all these people from the third world, we will become the third world. We're seeing it in Europe. So, I mean, it's just crazy how these things are turning out and flipping, as time goes on. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But, the problem is created and then they have to come in with a solution. Or it's a destabilization thing that they're trying to set up. And they either want it to burn down and then they'll build what they want from the ashes, or the problem just gets so bad that they come in with a solution. Even if the problem is organic and the solution has some sort of thing where it could have bad implications, eventually they will probably morph it into that type of thing, that type of control system, that type of mark of the beast system that we're going to see. So it's crazy. It's crazy to see. So we've got 3 more videos, two more Bill videos here, and then one more video here showing about how this is something they're trying to set up potentially by 2030.
Of course, we need some sort of digital certificate because we're likely to say to people working in nursing homes or hospitals or maybe even schools that they need to authenticate that they've been vaccinated, and even travel will have some of that. So it's exciting that Pfizer did a great job, broke every record. And
it's just, isn't it mind-blowing to see this guy, Bill Gates, this computer guy? For some reason, the public has just accepted him to, the only thing he publicly talks about is medical stuff. This guy's never talking about technology publicly. That's what he was like, he was part of the technology thing. What is this dude obsessed with medical stuff and being in shots in Kenya and India and giving these people medicine? What is going on here? And then how is no one weirded out? I mean, plenty of people are, but how is not everyone weirded out that when he starts talking about this stuff, he gets giddy every single time?
Even travel will have some of that. So it's exciting that Pfizer did a great job, broke every record.
I mean, we know that's literally what is called duper's delight. It's what the kid does when they take the cookie from the cookie jar and you tell them, did you steal the cookie? And they've got the crumbs on their face and they're laughing. No, I didn't steal the cookie. It's the same exact thing that Bill is doing here when he's talking about Pfizer and thinking about exactly what's going on. And he's got duper's delight so bad that he starts laughing about the fact that Pfizer did such a great job. It's crazy, man. And we for sure need to continue to expose all of these people while we have the freedom of the internet. Because again, what are we seeing? At the same time that they want digital ID, at the same time that they're destroying the UK right now with immigration, they're also cracking down and arresting thousands and thousands of people for speaking out against the things they're doing. So we need to continue to do that here and stand on the ground of freedom of speech, exposing these people. Prince Andrew got arrested. I think it's time some of these other people got arrested too.
India leads, but there's a lot more that all of you can be involved in driving forward.
Here's Bill talking about this stuff. He goes into a little bit of just like annoying details here, but then he gets at the end where he starts to talk about just how amazing it is that he saw in this country, how they're controlling the agriculture and the farmland through digital stuff. And again, just more control mechanisms, market the beast systems, these types of things being the groundwork being laid here.
Is this digital public infrastructure? No country is more able to take government benefits and get them out efficiently and effectively to their citizens than India. You would have expected rich countries or others to do that, but in fact, they did not. And so that basic structure that starts with identity and bank accounts and payments is just foundational. And as part of this visit, I'm now seeing how that foundation is being built out in agriculture with profiles of farmers to understand what they need and give them advice, built out with health records so that we can help people not only with infectious diseases, but the challenge that's coming in the future with the growth of the non-communicable diseases being a huge thing. And that digital public infrastructure will help us with these climate problems.
So there you can see again, and something to put on alert. And again, I just want to also say, these are subjects that I'm interested in, but most importantly, I always have hope Jesus Christ can do anything. I think the fact that we're seeing these Epstein stuff being released, even though they're redacting names that shouldn't be redacted, we're not getting full disclosure here, but we're seeing some stuff come about from this 100%. And so I think that that's good. And there's always hope for things to come around. These people plan stuff all the time. I mean, a good thing that I like to think about too is they had Agenda 2012, and that was their plan with the crazy map of just shutting off all of America's land pretty much and just completely restricting it. The kings of the earth make their plans, and God in heaven laughs because things fall and go according to God's plan, not these people's plan. So they failed with Agenda 2012. So then they're like, okay, by 2030, we'll get it for sure. Then they started to do it in 2020, and they're like, oh, here we go. We may be able to do this. That's why Bill is laughing in that first video, saying, you don't have a choice here. It's so funny. You don't have a choice. You have to be injected. You don't have a choice. Shoving that in people's face every single day. You want to watch football? You want to see sports? You want to see that? You will never go back to normal ever again. How many times did we hear that? They were trying to condition people to that. And so they failed once again because God in heaven, things fall and go according to his plans, not theirs. So they're going to try for 2030. We're hearing a lot of talk about that. We're hearing a lot of talk about 2027, but things will happen according to God's plan. Jesus Christ is in control. We have hope for revival. We have hope that the fact that they consistently fail at these attempts, people are waking up. There's always hope. So I hope that is always an overriding message in the things that I do. But what I'm going for right now is exposing some of the stuff that Bill Gates has been connected to and the Epstein stuff and just in recent years. But always, no matter what I'm talking about, I have hope. And guess what? If it just all started tomorrow and the Antichrist came on the scene and they just rounded us all up and we're just taken out immediately, guess what? We're beside the throne of God in heaven, worshiping God, worshiping Jesus in heaven and saying, Lord, when will you bring justice on the earth? He says, when the times are fully unfolded and all the people have come in, then I will pour out my wrath on the earth. But until then, you can worship me in heaven in absolute perfection for all of eternity. So what these people do is like the beast system being set up. They can't take our soul. You're supposed to fear the one who can destroy your body and also destroy your soul and throw you into hell. So no fear here of these people at all. But I just think let's continue to expose these guys. Prince Andrew got arrested. Let's arrest Bill. If there's arrestable charges, I mean, all these people, all these crimes, all these redacted names, they need to be arrested. Let's see some justice. Let's hope for justice. Either way, no matter what, always hope and pray for revival and good things to happen in the earth because anything's possible with God.
I was in Odisha yesterday, and what they showed is that they've registered the farmers and registered what type of crops they grow and what land they own. They literally have a control center. When you walk in, you think, wow, this is agriculture, but you've got a command center and maps, and people doing queries and sending out messages. And so that all starts, with an Aadhaar identity, listing those farmers, getting the information.
So there he is, giddy again, thinking about, wow, we have all the farmers and everything's on the maps and it's on digital stuff. And let's listen here at the end one more time.
Identity, listing those farmers, getting the information.
Getting their identity, listing the farmers. What does that sound like? Can't buy or sell, right? Without the mark of the beast. All these people, then what did he say before that we were listening to? He was talking and saying, well, it'll be so much better for the climate and controlling all the diseases for all these poor people all around the world. So, it's just going to be so much better when people get their digital IDs and people won't be mean online anymore. They won't make fun of my pink sweaters that I used to wear when I was trying to condition people to think I was nice and all that type of stuff. So it's just going to be so much better for everyone. And don't you care about the polar bears? I mean, the polar bears are having to swim a lot right now because we're eating so many steaks. Don't you care? You need the digital ID. That's what they do. They set you up in a way where it's like, if you talk bad about it, they're like, oh, you're so mean. How could you ever do that? We know what they're actually planning, which is why they giggle when they talk about people taking experimental vaccines that have led to an insane amount of deaths. So here's a little bit about the 2030 stuff as we end this video off, because I found this interesting. This is Dr. Mike Yadon, who is the former Pfizer vice president and an executive with Pfizer, and take a listen to what he had to say about 2030, digital ID, and all this stuff.
Tyrannical situation where we are living in a peri-tyrannical situation where there's only 2 clicks left when you are required to have digital ID to move around and have a life, and when cashless central bank digital currencies are the only way you can buy and sell. At that point, you've lost your freedom. If you follow the breadcrumbs to 2030, anyone can look up the UN 2030 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. By 2030, Britain specifically will have no commercial passenger aircraft leaving the country. You will not be able to leave. There will be no ships leaving the country. You will not own private transport. You will have a digital ID to do everything, and you will only have electronic money with which to transact. I would say at that point you are a slave, and because you can see them coming, you should say no. Say no right now. Stop. The things that are happening are really fantastic, but they go back decades. There's no question that there's been a very long run-up to the level of control that we are going to face if we allow cash to be winked out of existence.
Those things are definitely in the process of happening now. And this is definitely the most radical possibility of these things happening by 2030. All of those things that he mentioned. I don't think that it's going to get to that point. I really do think that people would stand up. I mean, just like 2020, no one wanted to really do the mask thing at the end of the day. There's a few, 1% of the population who still does it now, at least in America or whatever. No one really wanted to do that. People did still want to continue their lives no matter what side of the political, spectrum you're on. So things did go back to normal. So I really don't think that it's going to get that controlled that quickly, but this is their plan, and the groundwork for this is being laid of absolute control. And yes, these 20 sustainable goals, the UN sustainable goals, these are the things that they're going to try to do. It's going to be by protection because of the immigration destruction that they've allowed, even though they said diversity is our strength. Now we're seeing the fruit that it's actually, you allow the third world in, your nation becomes third world too. That's just the truth. These people are not assimilating because they still believe their insane death cult religion. If they would leave that, then they could actually probably become regular, normal human beings. But until that happens, we're seeing exactly the opposite. So when that's going on, and then the push for the digital stuff, for the control of what you say online, more stuff with, if there's another pandemic and the shots and controlling this, the agriculture, all of these types of things are being moved, are really setting up the beast system that we know is going to come in the future. And it's the groundwork. I don't think it is going to happen overnight. It's just going to happen in increments. So I do think it's important that we say no now and stop them. So, just like we did before, the whole, things will never go back to normal. This is your new normal. No, that's not the case. We just do not agree to that. And then I think things will just unfold however they're supposed to. And I think, let's just have hope for a better future and a free future for all people around the world. And even these people who I mentioned who are coming in from third world nations, I pray the best for them and their nations. And if, they're here, assimilate. But, if you're here illegally, sorry, you got to go back. That's just the way it is. But I do pray for them there, because the only reason they're in that terrible state is because of the evil demonic forces surrounding that religion that's destroyed like 2 billion people's lives on the face of the earth. Different story. But these are the things moving in place. I pray in Jesus' name for God to direct our paths, to direct our nation, for justice to come on the earth. We know vengeance is the Lord's. In the end, if the vengeance doesn't take place on this earth, my goodness, it's just going to be, they will really regret it the second that they leave this earth and go into the life after. And, until then, let's pray, repent, seek the Lord, live for him, and pray that he heals our sin, or forgives our sins and heals our land, which is my prayer for America and all of the West and all of the world, really. And let's hope and pray for revival and for things to turn around. We'll see what happens in Jesus' name. And I think along the way, think about all the different people in history who just think about if the Americans, the founding fathers, didn't fight against, Europe in the past. Think about what would have happened. That would have just spread, and it would be terrible. So, sometimes you do got to stand up. Not saying war here per se, but you get what I'm saying. So anyway, let's reject this stuff, stand up for what's right, stand up for freedom for all people worldwide. That's my prayer, but most importantly, that everyone would follow and believe in Jesus Christ, the Son of God. He's the only way to heaven. Every other religion, every other belief outside of the Bible is a doctrine of demon and has to be thrown into the pits of hell. Jesus is King, Jesus is Lord, and I hope and pray you'll pray to him, worship him. Worshiping is so important. It will direct line you to God. If you don't do it, incorporate it. Fast, pray, be in community, serve the Lord, and be like Jesus and love others, because above all, if you don't have love, you're a clinging symbol. God bless, guys. Thanks for watching.